Analysis of major political stories in Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. After conclusion of the presidential and National Assembly election, attentions shift to the governorship and state assembly polls on 11th of March. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has presented certificates of return to the president-elect and the vice president-elect. On the interview segment today, we will examine how Bola Tinubu won the 2023 presidential election with the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kasim Afegwa, as our guest, as well as Dr. Cairo Ojogo, the Pro Tem Secretary General of the National Coalition for Peace and Unity, on addressing electoral violence. Welcome to Politics Tonight. Stay with us. We will be right back. Welcome back to the program. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has presented certificates of return to the President-elect, Bola Tinubu, and the Vice President-elect, Kashim Shettima. At events, Tinubu stressed the need for Nigerians to join hands with him in building a new Nigeria and promised to carry the youth along in governance.
We must join hands in this common endeavor to pull the nation through. In a phrase, I'm asking you to work with me. I may be the president in election, but I need you more importantly. Nigeria needs you a lot more than just one person. My heart, my door are open to you. I ask you to come in so that we may begin the task of rebuilding our national home together, day by day, brick by brick. Where there is poverty, let us create prosperity and jobs. Where there is hunger, let us feed the people, chasing the hunger from our midst. Where there is no scarcity, let us rediscover the abundance. Where there is brutality, we may replace it with brotherhood. Where there is violence, stock the land, we may establish peace. Where others have erected temples to hatred and bias, we may reconstruct permanent monuments to compassion and abiding affection. History will record that this day as the moment when I officially stood before you as a president-elect.
All right, President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu speaking there. All right, let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our first guest of the day, the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kashim Afegwa, on how Bola Tinubu won the 2023 presidential election. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. I am now joined by the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kasim Afegwa. We will be speaking and deliberating and dissecting how Bola Ahmed Tinubu won the 2023 presidential election. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. And congratulations.
yeah, congratulations to you. I must say, I know it's indeed a proud moment for you and all members of the APC across the world. But then, it has been a topsy-turvy ride in the election. How will you describe the outcome?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity of this discussion, and let me use this platform to congratulate the winner of the election who got popular votes, 8.7 million thereabout. Like I told people, I know that Bola Ahmed Tinubu will win this election because the opposition were not interested in dislodging APC. And how do I mean? The opposition party were interested in pursuing their own individual aspiration without coming together. Now, they are united by failure in the election. I was expecting that prior to this time, if the opposition were to be serious, they would have come together as one body. If Peter Obi could have just been the candidate, maybe you have an Atiku Abubakar as his running mate, or otherwise, and just present a formidable opposition to the ruling APC. Perhaps the result would have been different. But now you see everybody is agonizing, complaining about the outcome of the election because what they ought to have done ab initio, they didn't do that. So they split their votes. You have 6 million here, 6 million there, 12 million votes of the opposition, plus Kwankwaso added, that's about 13, almost 14 million votes. That means if they had presented a formidable candidate in one person, they would have been. So a Tinubu, being a strategist, being a man who is very lettered in the act of politicking, being a Democrat who understands the dynamics and the nuances of this game, encourage that kind of separation so that there will be unity of purpose. And at the end of the day, you saw the results. In fact, I must commend the northern governors of the APC who stood very resolutely, because the fear we had initially was that some of these governors were not supporting him. They would do a northern agenda, so to speak, thinking that they will support Elijah Atiku Abubakar. But you saw the votes that came up from the northwest and northeast. They were quite encouraging and very commendable. And they are the heroes of this democracy, the governors of the APC, because they insisted that power must shift to the south. And for that reason, they supported Asiwaju to emerge as a candidate ab initio, and now they have supported him to emerge as the winner of this election. Huge congratulations to all Nigerians. This is a time for sober reflection. It's a time to call on other contestants, like he has said in his acceptance speech, and even the speech when he went to collect his certificate of return this afternoon. He's a great leader. He understands the dynamics in the country. He understands the intricate logic. He understands the centripetal and the centrifugal forces, and he knows that he needs to balance all of these forces and emanations to be able to strike the right chord in moving or in jump-starting a government under his leadership. I want to commend him. His acceptance speech was very loaded, very encouraging, very accommodating. He has, extended the olive branch to the other candidates, and I think in the interest of the country, in the interest of moving the country forward, I think they should just listen to his clarion call to be able to deepen democracy and deepen growth and development.
All right. Now, there were many surprises and upsets in the country. For you, what would you consider as the biggest?
You see, the election, different from what I have heard from a lot of commentators and all of that, in my 27 years of active politicking, from 1996 till date, this is the best election I have seen that is so keenly contested. And I say this with all due sense of responsibility. Anybody may have his reservation, that is the business. But in terms of election conduct, where you have upsets, where you have an Okada rider becoming a federal lawmaker, defeating a popular Banky W, you have a PA to a senator in my state, Edo State, becoming a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I think this election has just proven that, in fact, democracy is a leveler, and that's how it should be. And you could see the maturity of the statement issued by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president-elect, calling on people in Lagos to calm down when the results came out from Lagos and he was defeated. You know, that's the maturity we need in deepening our democracy and ensuring that there's peace and tranquility in the polity. Having said that, look at Katsina State. Opposition won Katsina State, opposition won Kebbi State, and even Sokoto, the ruling party there, the PDP, also defeated the APC with about 3,500 votes. So by the time you look at all the results from the north, from the northeast, northwest, you see that opposition really put up a fight, and about 5 or 6 governors who are serving lost their bid to become senators. How much do you want an election to be transparent, to be credible, to be free and fair for you to have this kind of results? I think, in my own view, I think INEC should be commended, because I have seen complaints, I listened to complaints of people who are saying that they didn't post results on IREF and all of that. IREF is not in any part of our laws. It was only a guideline of INEC that they might use IREF. And I remember that in August 21st, 2022, INEC did state categorically in a meeting with all the political parties that they are going to use manual collation of results. But because Nigerians were trying to, some Nigerians were trying to work from answer to question, they were trying to see how results could be posted on INEC resource. Beavers have suffered a lot of his own servers. And so for me, I went to my village. I campaigned 4 days before the election to team up with my other brothers and sisters in Okwela. We voted that day. All the agents were there. The results were counted, and a sheet of those results were given to each of the agents as for their own records. And from there, you go to the ward level for collation. From ward level, you go to the local government for collation. From there, you take it to the state capital. And from the state capital, you declare results. And in all of this process, or all of these processes, so to speak, every agent of a party ought to be there. If you don't have agent and you are not there, it is wrong for you to cry blue murder after the results have been collated up to the state level and they are being rendered through the relevant resident electoral commissioners. So for me, I think it's just a lesson for those who are getting interested in politics now, particularly the opposition. They should know how to learn how to bury their individual ambition and look at the collective if they actually want to dislodge any ruling party. Of course, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president-elect, was a front runner in this election. The APC has 21 governors. They have all the candidates in all the political parties, in all the positions being contested. And so they have opportunity to mobilize. They have platforms to mobilize for electorates. My worry in this whole scenario is not even about the outcome. It's about the fact that there is voter apathy. If you look at the figures being churned out, it's just in the realm of 23 million. Out of 87 million registered voters, only 23 million were recorded to have voted. That's almost like maybe 25% attendance at the elections. That's not encouraging. So a greater responsibility will be on the political parties and the INEC to carry out civic education, voters' education, to sensitize citizens on the need to come out on election day to vote. It is not enough for you to go to rallies and you see a huge crowd. When it is time for elections, you see very thin crowd coming to vote for their preferred candidate. That is not going to encourage participatory and popular government put in place through the democratic process. So I would rather want the political parties to look into that than this call for some kind of disobedience, civil disobedience, and shouting blue murder and all of that. Of course, if PDP were to be leading, the APC did its own work and they got it right. So congratulations, Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Now, Mr. Fegwa, well, to corroborate your submission, this is an election that has changed the political dynamics in this country. What do you consider as the factors responsible?
Well, you see, the point is that a lot of Nigerians wanted a paradigm shift. They just felt that some of the old hands, have outlived their welcome, and so they needed something new, something that will resonate with them. But again, that didn't play out well because the handlers of those other candidates, particularly Peter Obi, the handlers didn't do a good job for him. And so, what you have is a situation where there was too much of supporters and their leaders being too much in a hurry, not taking time to handle some technical details in terms of how you segment your campaign, who to appeal to, who are the people who will be the foot soldiers to man the gate of election when you vote, who's to pretend, who protects your vote. And I don't have problem even discussing Elijah Atiku Abubakar's aspiration. From day one, I never supported it. The reason why I pulled out of the PDP was because I felt that was taking the handshake beyond the elbow, seeking election after a President Buhari 8 years. Power should naturally shift to the south. I maintain my position, and the position remains the same. And so I am one of the happiest people on earth, because I know that if Elijah Atiku Abubakar had won this election, perhaps some of his foot soldiers would be chasing me all over the place. Maybe they would tell me to even relocate from the country. But I have nowhere to go now. At least I have a protector in Democrats, a man who understands the dynamics of politics, who understands that there could be divergent views that without being an enemy camp. So I am happy that the election has turned out this way. I am the happiest person on earth. I have been celebrating since yesterday. I celebrated with my family. We popped champagne. We celebrated. If you have grievances in line with democratic ethics and decorum, you go to the law courts to advance your case. It's just like the case of Osun State. When the APC felt that it was defeated in the governorship race, they took up a challenge of going to the tribunal, and they got a judgment at the tribunal, and they appeal now. And from there, maybe they will go to Supreme Court. So for me, it is better for you to follow the legalistic procedure and process than detaining yourself in trying to whip up undue sentiments that will not do anyone any good. So I want to commend the organizers, INEC. I want to commend the foot soldiers of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They have been so decorous in terms of their conduct thus far, even their celebration. They have not gone wild on the street and chasing people all over the place. That is the kind of orientation that they have been given. And I also want to appeal to a Peter Obi, vibrant young man who also understands that this country needs a change. Fine. But he has opportunity to present himself for future elections. So I wouldn't want him to be hiding under the apron string of a PDP whose candidate has gotten to his political Golgotha. This is the end of the road for Atiku Abubakar, who has been contesting presidency since 1992 up to now. And so, in his typical fashion, I know that he may want to go to Dubai to take a deserved rest. He deserves that. He needs that. So, at any rate, Peter Obi should please mobilize his movement, his supporters, and all of that, and plan for another day. There's still an opportunity for him to govern the country. And even in the interim, if he has good ideas, good initiatives that can help us move the country forward, you should not hesitate to extend those kind of initiatives, suggestions, ideas to the president-elect by the time he becomes, by the time he is sworn in, so that the public can also benefit from it. Because Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president of APC, is the president of the Labour Party, is the president of NNPP, is the president of PDP, is the president of every Nigerian, whether the voters or those who didn't vote. Because whatever policies and programs he puts in place will have direct and indirect implications for the well-being of the country. And so I'm expecting that any of these candidates who have robust ideas that can help drive the narrative should please come forward with those ideas, submit them to the candidate, and let us see how we can move our country forward collectively.
All right, then. Well, against all odds, Tinubu has won this election and is now the president-elect. What will you attribute his victory to? Some have mentioned alliance, some have mentioned strategy. But for you, what is it?
Well, You see, when I left the PDP in June last year, and I declared that I was going to support Bola Ahmed Tinubu, people asked me why not Obi, and I said, well, for me, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a strong planner, is a meticulous long-distance racer, is a Nigerian who understands the dynamics of politics. He also knows how to cultivate the support, the network, the influence, and the spirit of camaraderie that is needed in politics to robustly engage the issues, constructively bargain with them, and collectively engage to get a desired outcome. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not just a strategist, par excellence. He also knows how to time, his intervention in every specific aspect of his political life. Don't forget, this is the first time he's contesting for president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He has had opportunity before, he didn't do that. He provided a platform for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar in 2007. He provided a platform for Nuhu Ribadu in 2011. And in 2015, with like minds, he provided a platform of APC through a merger for President Muhammadu Buhari. And he positioned himself in such a way that when he made a declaration in Abeokuta that Emilio come, it now became a sing-song because he has paid his dues, he has been on the queue, and he felt that it was his time to contest for president. And so he got it right at the nick of time. That is how to plan for politics. And that is why I'm calling on Obi, add another 8 years to his age. He's still very much in contention. So he can continue to sustain this particular movement and even give government a robust, play a robust opposition role, because in any democracy, opposition is an integral part of the governance process. When you have a democracy that is not being interrogated, or a government that is not being criticized, being interrogated robustly and constructively, you are likely going to have a straitjacket government or a dictatorship. But when you have a robust opposition, you help government to think outside the box and come up with policies and programs that will help to drive its own manifesto. So I want to believe that a Tinubu government will be a robust one. It's going to involve young minds. He has said it today. It's going to involve women. It's going to involve youths. It's going to carry everyone along, because in the business of governance, everybody, including the young and the old, are important, in ensuring that policy implementation are driven to the grassroots where they are essentially needed.
Let's quickly talk about your state, Edo, where the Labour Party won despite being a PDP state. How will you react to that?
You see, the price you pay for ingratitude is what you just saw in Edo. The governor was given the platform of PDP on a platter of gold in 2020 to contest governorship. As soon as he became re-elected, he threw away the ladder he used in climbing to the rooftop of leadership in the state and started suspending those who were the factors that drove his campaign from all the 192 wards in Edo State. And so there was a fraction. There are two factions, an Obi faction and the governor's faction. The governor wanted to remove all the officers of the party who were validly elected to serve a 4-year tenure as officers of the party. He wanted to replace them with people he came with from APC. So at the end of the day, you had two dominant factions. And when this election was coming, the Dan Obi faction entered into a robust negotiation and constructive engagement with the APC. And at the end of the day, they got two senators, Comrade Adams Oshomole and my good friend Monday Kwebolo, also known as Akpakomiza from Edo Central, 2 senators out of 3, a PA to Matthew Orogide, who was used as a placeholder in Labour, became a senator representing the governor. And so when you have all this concatenation of all these frictions and factions, you are likely to be punished when it is time to vote. So the legacy PDP group in Edo State just turned their back on the governor, and they just exposed the governor, and a governor that had promised 1.5 million votes couldn't even get 100,000 votes to give to his benefactor, so to speak. So I'm very happy about the turnout in Edo, very, very happy. And so next time, people will learn to be grateful to those who are their benefactors.
All right, so at the moment, your former party, the PDP, and the Labour Party are discrediting the outcome. What would you say about that?
No, you see, I don't want to even labor too much on that, because there is no election in Nigeria that has not been discredited. Even the June 12th, that was adjudged the freest and fairest, it was still being discredited by members of the National Republican Convention, NROC. They wrote a petition to the government of the day at that time, calling for the annulment of that election. People forget history. And the 1999 election of President Olusegun Obasanjo was also criticized heavily by Olufalaye, who was the candidate of the ANPP and the AD Alliance. So in 2003, Obasanjo was criticized heavily by Muhammadu Buhari, who contested with him, and other candidates about the fraudulent nature of that election. In 2007, it was worse. That was like a capture, because Obasanjo was used to capturing. So he was always capturing and capturing. And at the end of the day, Umaru Yar'Adua came out to say the election that brought him to office was heavily flawed. And so he set up the Uwais panel, who went around the entire country trying to see how they can tinker with the process of election to birth a credible, free and fair elections, and have institutions in place that can actually deepen democracy and the electoral process. And so from that Uwais panel, we have been able to take away a few things. And in 2011, President Buhari also criticized heavily the victory of Goodluck Jonathan. The same thing in 2015 and 2019. So there's no time that you are not going to have all this kind of thing. But I want to tell you, in my experience with elections, all of this which I have mentioned, I have participated actively at the top level. I can tell you for free that this is the freest, fairest, and most credible election. Because if it was not credible, you will not have all these upsets you are mentioning. You will not have a Tinubu, the popular Jagaban, being defeated in Lagos, and you see the kind of calmness and tranquility that's pervading Lagos. You will not have a Buhari defeated in Katsina State. You will not have Governor Otom being defeated as a senatorial. You don't have Darius Ishaku in Taraba being defeated. You will not have Ayade being defeated, and all of these things. So if you think the election is not credible, if you have issues with it, they are not issues that substantially can mar the credibility of that election. So what I will advise Labour Party, essentially, I don't have any advice for PDP. They can be crying wolf over their split milk. I don't give a damn about that. The G5 pulled out. They said they can win an election without the G5. But I want to advise the Labour Party, particularly Peter Obi, that he still has opportunity to preside over the country if he's got ideas. But again, he must behave like a true sportsman who, despite despite being defeated, has ability and the prospect of becoming the president of this country if he's able to play his game well. But if he continues to hide under the tutelage of PDP, he's going to be burning his candle at both ends, and that will lead him anywhere. Iyochayu of the PDP was being prevailed upon to leave the party. He never wanted to leave. He never left. He lost in Benue State. G5 governors, we can't talk to them. We can win an election without them. Today we have seen that. You have to come down from your high horse and be humble in leadership. Instead of thinking that you are displaying some kind of magisterial arrogance to think that, you know it all. No, politics is in the heart of people. When they come out to vote, they are voting secretly. And at the end of the day, when they come to vote, they can do you in. And this is exactly what has happened. PDP got his finger burned because they refused to listen to the voice of reason. And imagine if Obi were to be the candidate and Atiku, an older man, becoming the running mate. This election would have been different. They will not be complaining of rigging or lack of credibility. If Obi were to have won this election, would they not have celebrated him? If Anaja Atiku had won this election, would they not have celebrated him? Why would I not celebrate Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who defeated them in this election? Bravo, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You have done well. You are a Democrat. You fought for democracy in Nigeria. This 24 years democracy, you'll be going around. You went on exile. You fought the military. You returned them to the barracks. Credit must be given to you. I said it before, if there was opportunity to make him the sole candidate of this election, I would have supported him. Because he's a man of ideas, he's a man of intellect, he's a man of understanding, and he's a man who knows how to dialogue and robustly engage people to strike the right call. And that is what we need at this time. We need national conversation, national cohesion, and ability to rally around people to forge ahead.
All right, sadly we're out of time. Thank you very much, Mr. Kasim Afekwe, for coming on the program and finding time to examine and critically dissect how Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu won the presidential election. Thank you very much once again. We should let you go now.
Thank you for the opportunity, and congratulations once again. Congratulations.
Now let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our second guest of the day, the Pro Tem Secretary General of the Nation Coalition for Peace and Unity, Cairo Ojubu, on addressing electoral violence. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. I am now joined by the Pro Tem Secretary General of the Nation Coalition for Peace and Unity, Cairo Ojubu, on addressing electoral violence. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, first, congratulations on the victory of the presidential candidate of your party. How would you assess this exercise?
Let me make this very clear. The National Coalition for Peace and Unity is a bipartisan organization, and is made up of leaders from every segment and constituency in the country, including traditional rulers, including captains of industry, and including the clergy. And when we speak on the issue of peace, we don't talk party politics, but I accept the congratulations, and I thank you because the coalition, as a matter of fact, we have called to congratulate all Nigerians, everybody who participated, all the candidates, all the parties, all the observers who monitored the election, the INEC, and in fact, the voters, because it is a very huge task and a very huge operation to have the election settled. So our congratulations goes to the entire segment of the country. Thank you very much.
All right. So then, what are your expectations for the Tinubu presidency?
Well, first and foremost, the important thing right now is to be able to carry everybody along and make peace. The first thing to do is to make sure that all the contestants, the entire populace, everybody is carried along in the affairs of state. Once that is done, then the candidate can go out and pursue his ambition and his programs. Because if there is no peace, you will be distracted. So the peace and unity is sine qua non for the development of any country. So the coalition is calling on him, advising him to seek peace. Seek peace and seek peace. We want to make sure that the youths, whom of course Asiwaju has spoken about very copiously in his two addresses since being declared, that he has heard them loud and clear. They are the leaders of the youths and the persons, the organizations that these youths belong to, the Asiwaju should be able to reach them as quickly as possible and then unfold this program that, like he has done before, to ensure that they will give him the rest of mind, the peace that is needed for the country to move forward. Once that is done, every other thing he needs to do will succeed properly. I take, for instance, he has said it for a lot of times, that the thing he's going to do is to completely remove subsidy, petroleum subsidy. For you to do that, you are going to have a lot of problems from the unions, Pengasen and the rest of them. You are going to have a lot of issues with the youths. And the only way he will succeed is to be able to reach peace with his constituency, his immediate constituency, the politicians, and then make sure that he's able to make peace with the students, make peace with the unions, make peace within the petroleum industry. Now, his job is a little bit easier that the PIA is now active. So it lessens his burden, and then it makes it easier for him to be able to achieve what is necessary. Of course, even when I was the chairman House Committee on Petroleum Resources, from 2023 to 2007, I proposed that the progress of this country, I proposed then, because that was the first time the Petroleum Act was being reviewed for 60 years. And the first thing we did, and what we succeeded in passing that act, unfortunately, the Senate did not concur. And that led to the PIB, the Petroleum Industries Bill. And what we emphasized then was the total deregulation of the downstream, and to ensure that we enhance, give value to our oil production. Give value in the sense that it is not good, it's naturally unheard of that the best crude that is available on the surface of the planet is in Nigeria. And we cannot refine it. We send it out of the country, they refine it, add value to it, and return it to Nigeria. And we pay a lot for it. So this is one of the biggest problems we have in this industry, in this country. And various governments have not had the political will to deregulate the downstream industry.
All right, Mr. Caro.
For that Jagaban, 1 minute please, for Jagaban to be able to do it, he needs peace. That is the essence of the National Coalition for Peace and Unity.
All right. Now, another thing to look at pockets of violence recorded at some polling stations. Can we ever have elections devoid of violence?
Again, that is the second leg of the National Coalition for Peace and Unity. What we have tried to do and what we have been doing is to educate and encourage the youths. Because when you have violence in polling units, it is the youth that are usually involved. You don't get senior citizens going to snatch ballot boxes. You don't get senior citizens going to shoot guns at polling units. So again, peace is very, very necessary for us to be able to completely eliminate violence in the polling units. How do we do that? We need to educate the masses. And when you educate the masses, you empower them. When you empower them, they now know they no longer become handy tools for people who want to rig elections to manipulate them and to use them to rig elections. Again, that is where the coalition is intent in reaching the grassroots to educate the youth that anytime you are used to propagate violence at the grassroots, you are impinging on your personal progress and the progress of the society and the progress of the country. That you do not represent the interests of anybody. apart from the interest of your sponsor. And that the coalition especially has been appealing to the sponsors of violence to drop the idea. Because in any election, there must always be one winner. And if that one winner thinks that he's a total winner, he has missed the way. Because for every election, all participants are victorious. According to the adage of His Excellency General Gowon, he said, no victory, no vanquish. And that is how we want the politicians and the masses and everybody to see this election. The good thing about this election is that it has established something that Nigerians want to hear and want to see. That is, it has become a convention that the presidency will now rotate between the North and the South. And that is a huge achievement. So for the youth in the Southeast, the coalition, we want to reach out to them, to tell them next time it will be their turn. We want to tell the youth of the Southwest that a Southwestern citizen has won this election does not mean and should not be taken that they are superior to others. We want to also encourage the youth of the North not to feel offended or feel angered by the development. Because it has now become traditional, it has now become, by this election, it has now become a convention. Therefore, we continue to preach for peace. Right. We continue to preach for unity. We want to tell our religious leaders not to speak violence in their preachings, in their various churches and the mosque. We want to reach our businessmen not to target anybody based on the person's belief in politics. We want to tell the hosts of communities, especially in the Southwest, not to feel angered that persons that they feel are non-indigenous voted against them. That is not part of democracy. That's not the part of decency. That's not part of humanity. In human beings, for us to have civilization and development, we must encounter different opinions, we must accommodate them, and we must allow peace to reign.
All right.
When you don't do in an event, in one event, you wait. Another opportunity will come. Look at.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Caro. Thank you very much for that. But another worrisome challenge is vote suppression, which is common in our elections. For you, how do we put an end to this?
To which one?
Vote suppression.
Vote suppression?
Yes.
Yes, that is the part of the rigging that the political parties should be spoken, that we must educate the political parties to be able to handle that issue. One, vote suppression is a technical way of depriving persons who are very popular in an area from having their votes, from harvesting their votes. And it's very, very effective in rigging elections. So what happens? If you have a peaceful mind, if you have some God in you, you should know that you must allow people to do what is right, and what is right to allow every man's vote to count. You must not prevent people from casting their votes. I take, for instance, a gentleman in a part of the country. He went to collect his voter's card, and he was giving. And that is where INEC has to be also properly schooled to know that they cannot allow such things to continue. And that is why the coalition is planning a meeting with both INEC, both all the participants in the electoral segment, and everybody concerned, so that the wrongs of this particular election can be well synthesized so that everybody who has gone wrong in one way or the other will note where he has gone wrong. And especially, we want to also comment on INEC's feeling that, look, they have some days to look at what they have done. And we believe that right now they are looking at it, and it needs to be peaceful, so that this country...
Finally, before we go, Mr. Cairo, is cancelling votes at polling stations characterized by violence the solution, given that sometimes political thugs deliberately take violence to the strongholds of their opponents? Does this not amount to rewarding the aggressor?
Well, what happens is that, again, it's another part of vote suppression. You know that you are not strong in an area and you are losing. So you now cause war in that particular unit. You go there, either snatch the boss, like what was done in some part of my state. Some persons, when they were counting the result, the votes, they snatched the ballot box. And where a candidate had about 200, 300 votes, they went and double printed them. So, for instance, if Party Z had 200 votes, then they will take the pad and then do double thumb printing on the voter. So when you count it, you say, okay, these ones are disallowed. It happened. And so what the coalition did is to note it in our report. And we are going to speak about it. And that, you, just like you have rightly said, when you go and count votes or you reward areas where the violence took place in a unit, you have rewarded the perpetrators of the violence. Again, the National Assembly is there to look at it, so that in the review of the Electoral Act next time, they will note it. You know, there were a lot of things in this Electoral Act that didn't go down well. For instance, the number of persons that constituted the electoral colleges were quite small this time. It did not, the makers of the Electoral Act even disenfranchised themselves because there were some mistakes that were not taken note of as at the time the Electoral Act was being passed. I give you an instance. In the last primaries of in the Electoral Act, members of the National Assembly and members of the former National Assembly were not part of the Electoral College, and which caused a lot of problems. So these are the things that the coalition we have looked at and we are looking at. We are coming up with a report on what actually happened in this election, so that it will not guide the future election. So that if INEC is not to make any adjustment,
Mr. Cairo, can you quickly submit? We have very few seconds to go on the show.
First of all, let me thank you for even giving me this opportunity. That is, in fact, you have done very well. But in concluding, I want to assure you that the coalition will work very hard. The coalition is calling on everybody who took part in this election, especially the candidates, to please, anything they want to do, they must have peace and preach peace. And they should reach out to their followers to encourage them not to participate in anything that will cause breach of the law. Nobody should take the laws into his or her hands. We must respect Nigeria, we must respect our country, and we must respect what God has given us. Thank you very much.
All right, I have been speaking with the Pro Tem Secretary General of the Nation Coalition for Peace and Unity, Mr. Cairo Ojogo, and on the program we've addressed and look at ways Nigeria can have future elections devoid of electoral violence. Once again, thank you very much, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke WO using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Goodbye.
Miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from